Yeah, man, it's Elliott Wilson, editorial director, culture content, hip hop at Tidal. You see the mic, you see how they doing it, man. Hot new hip hop, man. Mama made them a hot new hip hop. Let's do it. So, now I call myself, I think I had an article that said, I'm a streaming storyteller. Like, I'm telling stories through streaming, But it goes back to the beginning of wanting to be a journalist and wanting to write about hip-hop, and started in '92 and had sort of Source magazine. That was a huge inspiration. Didn't really know how to connect to them. And then I started doing an independent magazine called Beatdown with Haji Akibade, Sasha Jenkins. Then 2 years later, me and Sasha started Ego Trip, which was more of a cross-cultural magazine. We covered rock, we covered skateboarding, we covered graffiti. It wasn't just a hip-hop zine. And we did that. We did about 13 issues that were very critically acclaimed. We did a couple of books, Ego Trip Book of Rap Lists, Ego Trip's Big Book of Racism, did a couple of VH1 shows. And around the same time I finally got my dream job was to be Source music editor at the Source from '96 to '98. Then in '99 I took over Double XL. The mission was to try to be #1 in the hip-hop space and take the Source out. That was a little crazy. You might have heard some things about that thing, but yeah, we became the #1 music selling magazine on newsstands. I was there from '99 to 2008. '09, I launched a website called Rap Radar. I partnered with Paul Rosenberg, bringing our perspective, our blog to the game. And then now, out of that Rap Radar brand and being a website, we now have a podcast called Rap Radar, which is obviously doing well. It's now on Tidal. We just did an amazing episode with Will Smith. So it's all sort of connecting. But, I think at the end of the day, throughout the whole journey, I'm somebody who loves music, loves hip-hop. I want access to the music first. I want to have the coolest tape that any kid has, any playlist. My playlist has to be better. Like, just the access to the music. And what's great at working at Tidal is that I get access to the music once the content's delivered. I have the power to, with my team and with all the great people we have on staff, to really it's human curation. It's not algorithm. These from the Latin side to the rock side to me and hip hop to Adele who works with me. We painstakingly want to make sure our playlists are strong, and sequencing is important, and putting our records together. It's all storytelling. We want to draw people in. It's all content. And I think that even though now I work for a brand and a streaming company, I'm approaching it the way I did when I was working at a major magazine back in the day, or a website, or anything else. Well, you know what? I think the thing, it's funny because I think that before I really got the job at Tidal and really worked at Tidal, I didn't necessarily know I would have playlists I enjoy, but I didn't know if there was really the idea of a great playlist. But then there's been playlists we've done that I've seen literally just resonate and really take off. You see it through social. So it's almost like a hit record. Like, we did this thing, 1998 Raps, and that really took off. We did a thing when Beyonce did the Coachella and paid homage to the HBCU. We had a alumni of HBCU, a woman who was a student there. We helped curate a playlist with her. That took off. We did a playlist on Martin Luther King's speeches that took off, which was crazy. Because, a lot of times, a lot of our streaming platforms may have access to the same content. Most of us do. But how you put it together and how you present it is really how the public consumes it. So, but yeah, I think that with everything we do, it's like we're constantly pitching new ideas for playlists that sort of fit the trends. The main thing I'm always looking at is that whatever the conversation is going on online, whatever's important right now, whether it's Travis Scott or YG or Mac Miller, like whatever's the conversation, is that when you go to Tidal, there's something reflective of that. There's a thorough playlist, and Travis Scott's the main art. And I called that earlier because I felt his record was going to, be the bigger one of that week. And now the numbers look like it's going to back that up. And then, there's the Travis Scott Essentials. And this, well, if it's about, now everybody's talking about Big Bank, here's the Produced by Mustard playlist that, you thought Mustard was over. He's back hotter than ever in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's that. It's just to make sure that, we see what the audience is talking about, what the hip-hop community is debating about and agonizing about. And, I think the important thing about all our platforms is that, we give you a reason every day to go to Tidal. There's something new to check out, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a new playlist. There's always a reason to go check out Tidal and see what we got going on there. Hip-hop, even if you say the earliest remnants of it was like mid-'70s, finally recorded music in '79, right? So, you know, I think the first memories I get of just, I guess, through cousins from the Bronx of hearing noise that eventually, I guess, was Cold Crush tapes and Fantastic Five tapes. And but the first records I heard that really connected with me was Grandmaster Flash Freedom, Curtis Blow the Brakes. You know, obviously Rapper's Delight. When Rapper's Delight came out, you know, we all felt like we had to write all the lyrics, you know, every single word. But really the breakthrough for me was being from Queens to see what Run DMC did for hip hop, and totally just, you know, I think I saw an interview with Flex and Fat Joe where they were saying, like, you know, it's great and it's sad that their ascension kind of put the final nail in that period of that old school period. Like Run DMC was instantly the new sensation. Hip hop would forever change, and this was the new sound. And that pioneer period before them was kind of put over here, and they were about to take this worldwide, nationwide, and that there were kids from Florida, there were kids from other regions. So that was the first time I started to realize that there were cats like you know, from my age group that were from these other cities and other states and other countries that loved hip hop. You know, you didn't see that. So it became something that was bred from New York, but it was worldwide. So the irony is that the biggest stars like that also came from Queens, which gave me a sense of pride. And then LL Cool J came after Run DMC and took it to another level. So it just comes from them. But I think that was where I first got my education, that there is this music that's connecting us all. No, I always I knew I could write. Our teachers told me I could write well, but what happened was I became more fascinated with the idea of what an editor was. Like, I used to see The Source, and I would see the music editor at the time, Reginald C. Dennis, and he had this column called like the Dennis Files, and he had these sunglasses, and it was like, he was the guy that got all the music before anybody to me, and he gave out the mics, and he was in charge of that. So I was like, I want to be that guy. Like, I didn't want to be, I mean, I wanted to write and get my voice out, but at the same time, I loved that the editors had made the decisions and they had final say. So I became fascinated with that. So that became my goal. So with being an editor, you know, so much of my era at Double XL, which I'm probably most known for, I rarely wrote anything or wrote cover stories. If I wrote a cover story, it's probably because there was some business drama around it that required me to be in the forefront, you know, for whatever reason. I think a great example is after we did MJ 50, you know, people forget 2 months later I did Murder Inc. And I was very controversial at the time. So I did the story myself with Irvin Ja and the Crosshairs. And so I only put myself and called my own number when it was something like that. But then what's happened since is now people know me from front facing. They know me for being on camera. They know me for doing interviews on camera and being out there. So that's just a total change that's happened kind of even more post website, Rap Radar blog era, where now I'm more comfortable being on camera. I'm more comfortable conducting interviews, you know, with me as the talent. You know, but I still also just love the behind the scenes part of it and the business part of it, and making those decisions like we do all day at Tidal. We make decisions. You know, running a streaming service, it's like you're a retail store in that sense. Like, you get to help decide where the order of these albums and where they're placed, and that makes a huge difference. Like, which order they're at, which tracks are presented here. You know, these are all important decisions. You know, we used to have to fight for like hip hop being in front of the store when you would come in. It'd be like, come into the record store, it'd be like, can I get the hip hop there? Also in the back, the rap section's over there. Now the rap section's in the front, you know, and I'm proud to be part of that still. I get up early. Then I go to social media. Nah, I mean, a lot of it plays out through social. I think social, Twitter, the way us in the hip hop community utilize Twitter and Instagram, it kind of gets you going. It's a 24/7 thing. I try to go to bed around midnight, get up in the top of the morning, and just attack it. You know, whether it's a new Tiger freestyle and yeah, I like these. We got some heat on that, you know. And I hope try to push something like that to go viral, because I think it's interesting, like that the Taste record is resonating, and you know that's on the Thorough playlist, and you know I think that the world, you know, it's because you know Travis is doing great. It's just an exciting time, you know, in that way. But yeah, I just think I sort of like, you know, I definitely have an agenda of what content I want to work on at Tidal during the day, like an idea of what, especially a day like Monday, like we've had all the big record drops, you know, over the weekend. You know, I'm still listening more and more. That's the thing, too. Like, I don't want to get so caught up, like, these are the 5 Travis Scott songs, and they have to stick here for a week. If I keep listening to the album, and I'm like, nah, it's not 5% tint. It's this song's better, you know, or I'll swap it out. You know, like, that's the thing. It's like it's a constant living, breathing thing. Like, it's not, it's creation in real time. It isn't like with a magazine. You go away, create your content, try to make it perfect, print it, and send it to the world. And then if you had an error, you had to sit with that shit for like ever. Sit with it for a month and agonize, and then it would always still be the error. Now you can fix it. Anything can be fixed. and to keep updated. If the people say, we've seen that with like In My Feelings, the way that people have chose that record to be the one from the album. And now if I'm doing Thorough, then yeah, that goes right to the top of the Thorough playlist because that's what the community is reflecting. That's how when the Chiggy did his thing and it took off, you saw if you were following the Thorough playlist, you saw that change. You saw like, okay, all of a sudden I may have had In My Feelings already on the thing, like a 20 or 25, but it moves up to #1, and not in a very like single charter way, but kind of in more of an organic way. I watch everybody. I mean, that's the secret, and studying everybody, and I think everybody has great moments. I love now that like people are starting to appreciate actually great interviews. I think sometimes what happens is we had a phase in hip hop with the what I call great interview moments, which is Birdman with his moment, or Kanye spazzing on Sway, or like that's a moment, but it's not a great interview. Like it was a moment that went viral and is important, and we're all gonna laugh about it. It's gonna make jokes, but I admire when people are actually able to deliver strong content, get that great exchange, and it's amazing when you can't hold people's interest for so long. The hardest part is just listening and not talking over the person, especially when you're young and anxious and you know what the people want to know, and you know what the barbershop wants to know, and the streets, you're going to ask that question, and you feel like you have the right way to phrase that question, and you got the person on the hot seat, and you're super excited, and it's 10 minutes in, but you gotta, to me, the goal is always to build trust with your subject, and you're going to get to the challenging things. That person, especially now in this era, they're very aware of what the hot topic is. They're not sitting in a bubble anymore. They go to their feed. People have added them about it. They know what the elephant is all in the room, chilling. It's in the corner. We all see it. Like, it's no secrets anymore. So it's going to come out. It comes out in their music, right? Like a lot of artists address everything they want to address in their music. So then the challenge is, how do you get them to address it outside of the music? And I just think it's that process of like, pacing yourself, learning to listen better. It starts with like you have papers there to research. If you watch old Crown interviews with me, I have paper, and like even when I did Jay-Z at Yankee Stadium, I have the paper in my lap and I never even look at it. But just the fact that it's on my lap just gave me some confidence. But I was more so following the direction of where I felt he was going and like trying to remember. And here's the thing too, the one final thing is that you're gonna drive yourself crazy, but there's always gonna be something you forgot to ask. Every episode, me and B-Dot come up with the thing right after and agonize, like, how did we not talk about this thing? And that's just what it is. That's just the nature of the game. So next time you get Will Smith in Budapest, you'll ask him this. But, that's just what it is. You have to accept it. Yeah, I mean, we again, I credit a lot of that to Sasha. We were living it. He especially was living it. He opened my eyes to a lot of it. He'd be like, let's hang out in the East Village. And then you would see these kids, and you would see that. They were listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers and Dr. Dre, and we were drinking 40 ounces, and we were skateboarding, and everybody was all this one community. And that it was going against the way the business was run. The business was run that the rap department's here, the rock department's here, and business affairs is over here, and these worlds didn't intertwine. But Sasha saw that, and I think that, especially at the time, it was more so like, if we just did Beatdown, we can't do the same thing. We can't just be a hip-hop zine. And then at that point, there were a lot of independent zines, a lot of independent hip-hop zines. So we felt, again, from a business perspective, if we're going to Tommy Boy Records and we want a back page ad, what are we presenting that makes us different than these other brands? And now, because we took a step back with Beatdown, we're a couple of paces behind in that race. So we got to come with something different. We got to bring a different angle to it, or else we'll look like we're just one of the field. We wanted to be leader of the pack. So, that was really the mentality, and it worked right away because nobody was doing that. And we were able to then, but what happened was the notoriety, the quality of the independent product was so good that, someone like my wife now, Danielle Smith, Vibe at the time, and all these other editors that were more established, they checked it out and they were like, wow, this is quality. So they started giving us work for these bigger properties. We started writing for Rap Pages and Vibe and The Source, and making our money that way too, and putting it back into our independent product. I thankfully, I'm not like Charlamagne. I thankfully haven't really gotten into a lot of social media things. I can't remember, but I think there's been times, especially in the early days of Twitter, where I may have said something and it came off wrong or whatever. I would just delete it. Like I would say, I would then tweet I made a mistake, or that's not. I would just hold myself accountable. Like I don't. I wouldn't go out of my way to like stir up. I don't think that's really my role on social media. My role more on social media is curation. Is really like, I'm gonna chime in. obviously the stuff that I push, like if I'm pushing Tiger freestyle clip to you, it's because I think the freestyle clip is good. So it's not like I'm not putting my stamp behind it, but it's more in the forefront of like, again, if I'm a rap fan, you know, what does Tidal have today? What does this podcast do? What's that? Like everything has to sort of be together, like, because it's intimidating. I think that what's happened is people wanted to feel like, well, you know, the journalist is dead because we all have access to everything and we're all curators and we're all geniuses. But at the end of the day, it's like now we have so many choices. It's come back around in our favor of like there needs to be some curation. People want to have someone to agree or disagree with. People want to have somebody who helps them navigate through the landscape. It's intimidating. You go to Tidal, we have hundreds of thousands of songs. We have all these different videos. You go to any site, there's so much content, but when are you going to listen to it? Why are you going to listen to it? And how are you going to listen to it? You know, so I think that it's even more important what curation is. And I think that's pretty much more what my role is than using social media to be the launch pad for my voice. Like I have a platform to get my voice out there if I really want to take a stand on an issue, but I kind of utilize social media more for curation. Oh, I've had all the rappers want to put hands on me. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to blow people up, but yeah, I mean, you get threatened, you get incidents. I mean, thankfully nothing's ever happened to me, but you know, that's what it is. I mean, but no, I think that what's worked in my favor is I don't try to be something I'm not. I don't try to be the tough guy, the thug. I don't, you know, I'm from the projects, but I was raised with very like solid lower middle class values. My daddy and mother made me feel like, who are still together, made me feel like I could be successful. I wasn't trying to be acting like I was from the streets, so I was some thorough type of person, ironically, thorough. Or surround myself with, you know, people who feel like they need to hold me down, you know. So I carry myself, and you'll see me walk down the street by myself most times. I say what's up, I greet people, I feed off your energy. If you're good to me, I'm good to you. And that's just what it is. I think it's about just being a stand-up person and being accountable. You know, but I know what comes with it. Like I said, it's like whether it's even now with streaming or anything that I do, you're accountable for everything that you do. You're accountable for those decisions. You're accountable for the things you say, the work that you do. So you have to deal with that. Well, I think that what gets lost is I think that when people look at people, they say, well, so-and-so is cool with this artist or cool with these people, and he's not cool with this person. But in most cases, there's times when you're cool with them and the times when you're not. If this person is someone you're supposedly cool with, you're going to have ups and downs in that situation, as we all know. It's like this is navigating any kind of relationship. You know, artists, you know, don't like criticism, obviously. You believe in their art. They put their whole thing into it, right? So it hurts their feelings, ultimately, you know, that somebody may not connect to something they do. And that's fine. That's what it should be. The same way if somebody didn't like something I did or thought Thorough Playlist was whack, which is impossible, but, you know, something like that, you know, I would feel a certain way about it. But what keeps it going is that they recognize that your position isn't reliant solely on them, whether they want to admit it or not. Like I'm Elliott Wilson. Like I've seen a lot of great ones come and go. You know, I try to stay in it and stay in the middle. And like I've seen the heights of certain artists, and there's artists that have 2-year runs, 5-year runs. There's artists like that have been a constant, you know, and that's what it is. It's just dealing with those ups and downs. And I think, again, it comes down to, like I was saying earlier, just the honesty, the communication. I don't think it's necessarily always about challenging. It's not about telling somebody no. Sometimes no is, and here's the thing too, like, I don't get so caught up in having to tell somebody no. If no response is no, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is no until it turns into a yes, right? So people need to look at it that way. And it's hard to earn a yes. You have to earn a yes. Earning a yes is a process. So I think some people get off in telling people no all the time. I only tell somebody no if it's absolutely necessary, and I'm going to explain why it's no, and more so positively try to figure out how it can become a yes. But most times it's a no response, being that it's not even really a no, it's just that it's not a right now. It's not a yes right now. And so much of this world is timing, right? So much of it is when to do something and how to execute it and how to get it done. So, you know, that's how I function at it. Like I keep the communication going, and I know how to be direct when I need to be, and give people space when it's time to do that also. Well, the website, I'm glad you mentioned the website era, xxlmag.com. I think what happened was all these successful magazine covers, and we finally override the source, and we become the top seller, and it's just like, okay, well, where's the victory parade? Well, the victory parade is not happening because Now the kids are online, and everybody's on Now Right, and everybody's on these sites. And I go to my desk, and everybody's on these websites. So it's like, well, wow. Well, how are we leading if we're all on these websites? Like, what's our role in that? Like, what's our place? And thankfully, I connected with a dude named Brendan Frederick, who now works at Genius, runs Genius, is a genius. And he was slowly beginning to like really educate me on what was going on in the landscape, and who was SK, and who was Byron Crawford, that piece of the son of a gun, and who were all these different people. You know, like, who were these people in the landscape, and what were their voices, and what were they saying? Dallas Penn, and, you know, we put together a great team of, like, bloggers at the time when blogging, and it was mostly, like, columnists that were out there, like Sycamore had a column, and DJ Drama, and we put together really much a dream team, and, you know, did that very well. You know, looking back on it, you know, Complex was smart because they merged their editorial staff with the internet staff, and I think a lot of times with the magazine mentality, the main people worked for the printed product, and then the up-and-comers or the B squad worked for the internet. And now looking back on it, it probably would have been smarter to merge the two and take that sacrifice. But that wasn't meant to be. Yeah, pre-TMZ. Yeah, pre-TMZ, I think TMZ sort of serves that area now. But before TMZ really took off, Perez Hilton was like a self-brand who was looked at as an authority in celebrity news and celebrity gossip. So who's our voice in hip-hop? Who's our authority on hip-hop news? And if this guy just left a huge platform with XXL, you know, if we start something here, maybe we can get some people to come over here, and because they miss his voice, they miss his insight. And thankfully from that, you know, B-Dot joined me on that mission from day one. And me and B-Dot, you know, proudly are still Rap Radar, in the sense that now it's become more about our podcast. And we did 100 episodes with CBS, and now we've just done about 40 episodes with Tidal. And it's just the same manifestation of that, you know, we're trying to deliver the best content, that our interview is going to be the authoritative one for that artist, that you can watch all Royce da 5'9's interviews, but something about the Rap Radar one is special, you know, even if I can't put my finger on it. So, you know, that's always the challenge. It's the evolution. I mean, why you guys have survived, why Hotnewhiphop survived in different incarnations, why Rap Radar survived in different incarnations is that. It's just that you have to evolve. Like, I think that, you know, the blogging era is over in a sense. You know, like now social did overtake that. But if you have something, I think when people look at this, they know what this means, and it means something. The same way if they see the Rap Radar logo, it means something. So it's ultimately the big quest to build a brand. You know, I'm proud of what we've been able to do with Tidal. I think there was a lot of times that people took cheap shots at Tidal, you know, speaking frankly. And now it's not cool to hate on Tidal if you're an informed hip hop person. If you're somebody who loves rap or loves somebody who's in the mix, you know, it's not as cool to take your little jabs at Tidal. And Tidal has a lot of great stuff that's out there. Whether you still don't want to make that change or don't want to look at it a certain way, it's not being attacked the same way it was, at least in our circle. And that's branding. So I think the right brands will always survive and flourish and find new ways to redefine themselves. With Tidal, for example, again, we've sort of put a lot of stock in creating original content, which a lot of the other streaming platforms aren't really doing. And that's made us stand out, embracing podcasting in a real way with Tidal.com on air, and launching not just Rap Radar, but a whole different wide range of different type of podcasts across different demographics. So I think that's what it is. I think the ones that are strong brands, whether it's Hotnewhiphop, Rap Radar, or Tidal, you know, you're going to have to endure. You're going to have to reinvent yourself. You're going to have to deal with criticism. You're going to have to feel like, how are we going to keep this thing going? And then you just fight, and you just continue to evolve and not be afraid to make changes, strong changes, drastic changes. I thought they were the underdog in the space. You know, this is post Rap Radar, and I reached out to Jay, and I started really studying it and looking at it, and I was like, I see things, I see ideas, I have ideas. I think there's things I can instantly create that will help people. I think a rap fan just hasn't really looked at it in a real way. A rap fan hasn't really checked it out for whatever reason. Now, maybe it's the bias of, you know, Jay's a successful person. Is he really going to succeed in this? And, you know, a lot of time there was brand loyalties these other places because they came around first. And I can relate to that, right? I don't, back in the other era, the magazine era, was like, I'm not going to rock with XX. I've been reading the source since I was da-da-da. Or Vi's been around, so-and-so. So I always look for the underdog. I felt, especially at this age of my career, like I want to be part of a brand that's just growing, that's a startup in a sense. I saw that there was now some more backing with Samsung, so it looked like, okay, well, Jay is committed to this, so let me reach out to him. Let me see if there's something we can do. I didn't know at the time that they were already starting to assemble a team. They hired Tony Givino, who's a great editor, who I know from the Harris publication days. He's the founder of Slam. You know, I was the founder, you know, he was also a founder of XXL in the beginning too, one of the early editors. I obviously took over Double XL. We worked together also on Respect magazine. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know that at the time that Tony was part of that. So that made me feel like that's even more of an encouraging sign that there's a look that the idea is that, okay, let's start to really build an editorial team the way we would do with a magazine, right? And have a really good rock editor, a really good Latin editor, a really good hip hop editor, and let's create content. You know, so the DNA was already there, and then once I reached out, I was able to join the system and help really contribute to help us build this foundation. And now we're about a year and a half in, and it just continues to grow by the day, and it's exciting. If I really look back at it now, the front-facing thing started more so before it was even really on camera. It started with Crown being on camera, but I credit actually the Respect magazine era where I was with Jonathan Reingold, shout out to him. And he gave me the wheels to his magazine at the time. Like he said I could do whatever I want. So in my mind was, I'm gonna pick like four artists, right? And I'm gonna do all the interviews myself, right? So I'm gonna pick B.O.B. or J. Cole. And I remember having an internal debate and even sort of an outside debate about, should I profile, I had an article on Lil B and an article on Kendrick Lamar and who should get more pages. And back then, Lil B got more pages than Kendrick Lamar. You know, ironically now, you know, no diss to Lil B, don't put no curse on me, but Kendrick's obviously grown to be the bigger artist. So it was that type of thing of like, I'm gonna pick major artists like a J. Cole, a B.O.B. at the time, Jay Electronica I interviewed, but I'm gonna do all the interviews myself, like the opposite of what I would do at The Source or at XXL. Like, I'm going to interview all these artists. I'm going to show. So these artists would bug out, like, wow, you're doing it? You're interviewing me? Like, it would be weird. Like, okay. I interviewed J. Cole like 3 or 4 times that way. So out of the building confidence for that, I felt like, okay, well, I can connect. And what I was really connecting to was kind of what Not Right did in a sense, and what helped XXL, the whole freshman thing, which basically with all these artists that were like, you know, Coles and Kendricks and Drakes and Wale's and all these B.O.B.s and all these very talented artists who were like making something special, and they were trying to be great and like sort of carry forth the lineage that came before them. Like there was a Tidal with Jay-Z or a Nas or an Eminem or a Wayne. Like they were either signed to Lil Wayne or signed to Jay-Z or you know, now signed to Nas. Dave East is signed to Nas. Like that sort of lineage, right? And like nobody also felt like nobody was treating like Tyler the Creator like he has a real story. Like this kid built a whole fucking movement. You know what I mean? Like, so the whole point with magazines, you'd always act like the veterans have the story, right? This guy's on his 7th album. You know, he's been in the game 20 years. But like, no, this kid's about to put out his 1st album, but he's done like 4 or 5 mixtapes or somebody like that. Like, these kids have history. Like, their discography is their mixtapes. The records they put out, the Lucy's that they grew up on Rapid Share or whatever, or put up on SoundCloud. Like, all that's part of the catalog. So I just clicked in my mind that I should interview Tyler the Creator. I should interview J. Cole. When I did Tyler the Creator, then J. Cole, Ibrahim hit me up like, I want to do J. Cole next. So before I even did Tyler, I already had lined up J. Cole. Then after I did J. Cole, Drake called me and said, am I going to get a crown? So that's when I knew, like, I have to be out there and stand next to this new generation. So by standing next to this new generation on stage in front of their, like, most devout fans, which obviously someone like when I did Nicki Minaj was the epitome. Like, I'm in the heart of like the barbs. Like, there's real barbs in the building, you know, and they're like loud as hell, and like the energy and like it's crazy. Like, so I think just standing on stage with these artists and like really facing their real crowd and their real audience and their real fandom helped build that confidence. And then from there, I felt like I could do a lot more front facing and be more comfortable, and that this was another, you know, side of my career. This was, you know, opposite George. It was sold out seats to see people speak. It was sold out seats to see people speak. No performance. And literally, there was a lot of pushback. When we did the first one with Tyler the Creator, and even with the J. Cole one, both of them with the Highline Ballroom, and we wrote on the ticket, they had the company, the business people wanted to make sure that it said on the ticket, no performance. Because they didn't want fans to go irate and ask for a refund, like that they were sort of hoodwinked, that they thought they were going to get a Tyler the Creator show. Meanwhile, who's this old guy sitting on stage next to him? So it was always a conversation. But the idea I felt was I could get people to pay to watch this. It really started with my partner, Jesse Kirschbaum in Crown. he put together a panel. He was going to put together these panels at South by Southwest that year. I guess it's like, I'm bad with years, 2010 or so, 2000, whatever. So Kendrick Lamar had just dropped Good Kid, Mad City the previous fall. So he was, when I looked at the itinerary, Kendrick Lamar was on his victory lap. He was doing all the events in Austin. It was all about celebrating Kendrick, who came from that whole scene, just dropped this classic record. So I was like, I want to interview Kendrick. And we were able to set it up. I had limited time, but we did it. So when I showed up to interview Kendrick at this one of these, like, you know, regular panel type things, like venues inside like the convention center, give us a small room, like 17B or something, kids were already lined up, and it was like a whole feverish kind of thing, and it felt like we were going to a show, like it was an energy there. And some people knew who I was a little bit, like, oh, Rap Radar, I go to that site, you know, a little energy from that, but obviously they're big Kendrick fans. So when we did it, I just loved the energy of that. And then when we finished, I said to Jesse, I was like, I think I could get people to pay to watch me interview somebody. Does that sound crazy? You know, and everybody, a lot of people thought I was crazy. And then Tyler sold out. Sold out the tickets. Like we sold like 800,000 tickets, something like that. It sold out like in a couple of hours because he's also crazy. So he put out the tweet like, "Go see me, be interviewed, motherfucker." Like he put it out there and sold it too. Like he sold it, and it sold out right away. So then I knew I had something. And then Village Voice did a great write up about it, and then it became more of a real thing. But some of them we haven't sold tickets. It depends on what the artist is trying to do. You know, I love to sell tickets if I can. Sometimes it's more of a free event for fans, and we give tickets away. It's if it has sponsorship, or if the artist themselves doesn't want to sell tickets, we don't force them. We find a way to make it work. But it's varied in different type of ways. And those venues embrace that. Like a lot of what, shout out to Pete Oasis, a lot of what you see is he's curated that at Sony Hall and also at different venues. He's credited me and Jesse that you guys pioneered that in a sense of like showing these venues that, no, this is just conversation and people will pay to see it. And, you know, me and Joe have our differences at times. We all, you know, Joe Budden is a very competitive person. Obviously, I'm very competitive. But, you know, I definitely have tremendous respect for what he's done recently with Rory and Mal and not hitting the road. Like, that's pioneering stuff. And I think that they're taking it to a different level. And like he said in this podcast, like he's now selling out places he couldn't sell out as an artist. So even without a performance, they want to see the personality. So again, it's just great content. If it's great content, whether it's somebody performing a song or a great conversation, people will pay. Well, most recent was the Fab podcast when he decided to bring up issues he may have had with me in the past about not putting him on the cover of a magazine, XXL. That was awkward. I always say like I had a funny DJ Clue awkward story back in the day. That was like one of my worst interviews. I think I did like a Rockefeller cover, and I had to speak to everybody at Rockefeller and get a sidebar. And the Clue for whatever reason, he might have just been busy or whatever. It just was bad energy. One time I said something with Billy Danz at MOP. He had said something about bummy or something about bummy, and I used the word bummy, and he thought I was calling him bummy. So he got Billy Danz is not the one to mess with. So he kind of raised up a little bit, but we were able to smooth that out. So other than that, I haven't really had that too many awkward moments, no. Hey, man, Will Smith, I did it. That's it. My wish list is the same as anybody. I love to talk to Beyonce. I love to talk to Rihanna. I love to talk to, that type of person. But I don't think it's a wish list. I think it's more just being able to figure out, again, when is the right timing and how to execute it, more so than just the person themselves. Like, how do you make it special? I think part of what made Will special is that people are like, yo, you was in Budapest. Like, what is Budapest? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean you're in Budapest? Like, why is Will Smith doing a podcast? Why are you guys in Budapest? Like, there's all these different things that just make it unique. Jay, we did in, this Soul House in Malibu, and you can hear the waves crashing, in the back of the audio. That's special. Like, to me, it's all about all the pieces coming together. Even the Jay I did before, Jay was at Yankee Stadium. Like, we were in Yankee Stadium, like in the bottom area of Yankee Stadium where they got like a lot of the, memorabilia and shit, and like all across the thing. So I think it's really about that, of just figuring out what would be the ultimate showcase to present this artist also, like, and when would the timing work for both of us? Like, when does this work? And, more so just staying consistent. I'm really excited by the attention we're getting now at Tidal, and you just want to keep that momentum going. More content. Well, yeah, man, the beauty of this, and I've learned this now being on social all the time and working at Tidal, is that you folks out there have an insatiable taste for content. You never get enough. So we're going to keep trying to deliver. great content, because that's the era we're in. We're in a content era.